I'm here in the garden cutting back a few plants. It's the 13th of December, no, 14th of December today, and it's been a really mild winter, so a lot of the plants here haven't even been cut back yet because I've been waiting for them to die back completely. And here's two plants that you may remember from a couple of the other videos that hadn't died back completely, and I'm now ready to cut them back. And I thought I'd make a quick video about them because they're both from the same family, but they're behaving in quite different ways, and they need to be cut back quite differently. So this is Ballota nigra, which is black horehound, and then this plant behind me is Nepentocataria, which is catnip. There's another video that we've done on catnip and its uses from the old garden in Sligo, so you can check that out if you want to know more about its uses. But today I'm cutting the back, and I want to show you a few interesting things that I noticed. So I went a couple of weeks ago, was cutting back a good bit of the garden, and I wanted to cut back this Ballota nigra, which is a really nice specimen, such a nice specimen that I did collect seed from it and was quite excited that it was such a nice Ballota nigra. And then I noticed that it was doing something naturally. It was doing a bit of layering itself, so I wanted to show you that because I stopped then and decided not to cut it back because I wanted to let it do its own natural layering. And what I really wanted to do with this plant was save some seed from it, which I did because it was such a nice plant, so I could get some of the exact same plant from it. And then I noticed it was doing this. So if you just have a look down here, this is what you call layering in plants. And what you can do is you can actually train your plants to do this. So I've done it with lemon balms and some other Lamiaceae family, but this Ballota nigra is doing it on its own. So when I went to cut it back, I decided, oh wow, I'll just leave it for a little longer to do its thing. So if I pull this up, you'll see what it's done is its branches have come out, they flop down onto the ground like that, and then it's actually rooted itself in the ground itself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to cut the original stem here, and you can see I'm actually going to pull it up, and it's probably not in the ground that much, so if I just pull it up here you can probably see there's a whole new plant begun and little roots, actual roots coming out of the nodule there. So there's two things you could do here. This one, you could actually take this bit of the plant here that's formed its own little roots, and you could leave it in the ground to overwinter, or you could pot it up. And so that's an exact replica of its parent plant right here, which is a really nice thing to do. It's not crossbred or anything else. This is the original plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. So I decided instead of leaving it over winter, because our winters here in Ireland are really, really damp. It's been raining most of December actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pot on this tiny little Ballota nigra. And look, it's doing it again. There's another one. So this stem has come, hit the ground, and where the nodules of the plant on the stem were, it's actually rooted itself and made a whole new plant. So what I'll do is I'm going to pull that one up as well. So there's two here now. So there's another one. And there's the end of the stem, the original plant. And maybe you can see here. So this one's done really well. And it's got some nice big roots on it actually. So that's another perfect little black horehound plant there. Just comes straight off its mammy. And that's going to make a really nice plant. So it's one of the ways that we make more plants at the nursery is by layering plants like this. So we get the plant that's true to form. Or they do it naturally like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'll actually just leave those guys here and I'll pop them on, and then I can cut back the rest of the plant. And this plant, this Ballota nigra here, can actually be cut back quite hard. So I'm going to cut it right back. And if you see in the middle of the plant here, you'll see all the little bits of fresh growth coming up actually because we've had such a mild winter. This is a really nice plant that I suppose a lot of people don't use that much more in herbal medicine at the moment. It kind of has been going through a bit of a revival, and that's thankfully to Julie Bruton Seal and Matthew Seal, who have a really beautiful book called Wayside Medicine, and it's about forgotten herbal medicine plants in the UK and Ireland. So a lot of them grow here. And they talk a lot about this plant and a lot about the older uses of this plant. And I believe from their book, there's a really nice write-up in it. They do mention how in America, a lot of herbalists there still use it a good bit, mostly for digestive things and for stomach biliousness. So that kind of acid coming up into the stomach and belching and acidic kind of belching and that. In TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, we call that rebellious stomach chi, which is a lovely phrase I love. But in their book, Wayside Medicine, they mention a lot of other uses. What most of us would just know it for is for being used for coughs and colds and flus and upper respiratory issues, much like its cousin white horehound, which is very popular. And just as Julie Matthews say in their book, that people found it was easier to grow white horehound, so it became more popular because plants go in and out of popularity than the black horehound. But actually I think black horehound, from growing both white and black horehound seems to grow better for us. So I think white horehound needs a little bit more care. So I'm just cutting this guy back. And another thing they mention in their book is that it's very effective against skin infections, and it's antimicrobial and in particular against MRSA. And I do really like plants that have skin uses, so unusual plants. So I like to make certain remedies out of things like Japanese knotweed and things like acmella and also scrofularia as well, and use them in skin medicines. So this is another plant, the black horehound, which I think I will like to make maybe some oils out of, so that I can use it in some skin ointments and things like that. And I'm just cutting it right back, as you can see here, just to its growth there. Now I just cut back some lemon balm the other day as well, a big lemon balm, and that's again Lamiaceae family, and that lemon balm I cut it right to the ground, like right back. So this one I'm actually leaving a little bit of growth on it. And then I want to show you another Lamiaceae plant, one of my favourite plants, behind, called catnip. And that needs very different type of treatment when you're cutting it back. So I've completely cut back that black horehound now, just a few little scraggly bits to fix up. I forgot to mention that it's actually the flowering tops of the plant that we use, and I did harvest some this year, and we'll definitely harvest some next year. And I found a few other bits of roots here that were doing their layering thing here again, and have rooted themselves, been flopped down and rooted themselves. So what I'm going to do as an experiment, I've actually cut one off here from the mother plant, and this one's well rooted, these bits here, these nodules, and I'm going to actually leave that in the ground to overwinter and see how well that does as a new plant. I tidy it up a little bit, and then the other two that I took out, here's another one. So what I'll do is I'll just separate that one there from the parent plant at this stage, and I'm going to let that overwinter too, and it should become a new Barossa nigra too. So this is this nice big catnip that I'm here with, that was behind the Barossa nigra, just next to it. And this catnip, we would normally cut back our catnips this time of year, no problem, but we would normally leave about 1 foot to 1.5 feet of the plant, and it's because we found that if you do cut back the catnip too far, like even if you cut it back to here, just where this fresh plant growth is, just like I did the Barossa nigra, that it actually won't survive the winter. And we feel it's probably because it needs a little bit more protection. So those 3 Lamiaceae plants I was talking about, the lemon balm, which you cut right back to the ground, the Barossa nigra, which I just cut back, and I left a bit of plant growth on it. Whereas this catnip here, I would actually leave it, or else cut it back to here. And I was just looking at it, and we were just thinking, you know what, I'm probably going to leave this plant as it is. So this growth, this old last year's growth, is actually going to protect it over the winter. And this is one of my favourite plants. And people do always say to us, oh, my catnip doesn't survive, but they probably cut it back too much. And it's such a gorgeous plant, and just like the Barossa nigra, the black horehound, it is known as a plant for the stomach and the digestion, and it's one of the plants that I always travel with. I always keep some catnip, whether it's tincture or glycerite or dried catnip, with me when we travel, and especially for the kids. And it's because of stomach issues. People always ask us about the kids, do they get sick? Do they ever get sick? And I say, yeah, they do. They get sick all the time. So far, we've never had to ever give them a pharmaceutical medication, which we're very lucky for. So Rowan is almost 6 and Tilly is just turning 3 next week. But they do get things. They get strep throat and colds and flus, and stomach bugs is a thing that is just unavoidable. Them taking it home from school or play school or whatever. But catnip is certainly the go-to plant for stomach issues, whether it's yourself and it's food poisoning, or whether it's an actual stomach bug that the kids have got. Absolutely. And
for babies and for kids. It's just a number one. So yeah, so we do like to grow a good bit of it. So yeah, so this plant, we just decided we're actually going to leave it to overwinter like this. So leave this old growth of Nextgeonita. You can see that that even gives some protection to these really tender little catnip shoots down here. And we'll come back to it in spring and see how it's doing.